Hi class. I'm going to do a demo for assignment 6.1, the floor and space plan for this office building. Okay, so a little bit about this project. So we are provided with an as-built drawing that shows the existing conditions for a small building. And this building is to be renovated into an office. The office will include a reception area, two offices, a conference room, a copy room, and a bathroom. And so we're going to look at the next page to see the as-built drawing. That is the drawing of the existing building, the building that was actually built. And some of our constraints include, so we have obviously the existing buildings, the construction of that. It has a couple of posts. And then there's the owner's design requirements, which is to add a reception area, two offices, conference room, copy room, and a bathroom. And then we also have to follow a couple of codes. So that includes the Uniform Building Code for exiting, the California Building Code for accessibility, and the American with Disabilities Act for accessibility also. The exterior walls are made of 2x6 wood studs. That's the nominal size. The nominal size means that that is just the name of the wood stud, but the actual size is 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So we're going to draw them as 5.5 inches. We're going to draw the actual. And the reason the nominal or the name of the wood studs is a little bit different than the actual size is just because when they came up with the names for these, before the size of the wood was measured kind of before it was dehydrated, so the size of that wood kind of shrank, and yeah, that's why there's kind of a mismatch there. So the actual size of like a 2x6 wood stud is going to be a little bit smaller than the name or the nominal size. And then for the interior walls, they're 2x4 wood studs, which is actually 1.5 inches by 3.5. So we're going to draw the interior walls as 3.5 inches. The doors are going to be accessible. They're going to be 36 inches wide. And the exterior doors are going to include thresholds, and those thresholds will go 1 inch beyond the door jamb. And doors next to a wall should be at least 4 inches from the wall. The halls will also be accessible, and they will have a 3-foot 8-inch clear minimum width. The windows, they're going to be of standard order, so they're going to be available from 16 inches and in 2-inch increments. There's a support post. Those posts are going to be 5.5 by 5.5 inches. And then the porch and deck, those extend 3 inches beyond the posts and walls. And then there's a restroom that will be at least 7 feet by 7 feet minimum. And the door can swing in but cannot encroach more than 12 inches into a 60-inch diameter circle. Okay, so this is the as-built drawing. This is the existing conditions for our building. So we're given some dimensions. That porch, remember, it goes 3 inches beyond, but the dimensions are to the posts or to the walls. And this is just the code that clarifies the spacing for the bathroom. And so I already said that the door can swing in, but it cannot encroach further than 12 inches into a 60-inch diameter circle. Okay, and so if we draw it to all the dimensions shown here, then we're going to meet all of those requirements that we talked about. Okay, and so to start off, we're going to download and open the template file, architectural template, and then we're going to check for a couple things. We're going to check for the title block in the layout tab, make sure the units are in architectural units, and we could change any settings we want in the options while we're at it. Then we're going to check for existing blocks, and we're going to check these layers. Okay, so I'm going to move this over. I actually already have the architectural template file opened up, and I'm going to go ahead and check for all the things that are supposed to be in here. So first I'm going to go to the layout tab. I see I have, this is a 17-inch by 11-inch piece of paper. It already has my title block in there, and it has a viewport. I can go here and I can look at the page settings to see the, actually let me go back one. And I can see that it's 11 by 17-inch piece of paper. Okay, and then I'm also going to check my units. All right, it's in architectural, that's what I want. And while I'm here, I can also go to options. So remember, you could come here and you can go to selection and turn off allow press and drag for lasso. I think that's pretty obnoxious. I'd never like that on. So if you're using the remote desktop, then you're gonna have to come in here and turn this off every time. If you don't like having it on as well. And then you can change anything else you want in here as well. So I have my crosshair size to 100. My color theme is dark as usual. And then I also changed the color of my crosshair. And so go ahead and change it to whatever settings you would like. I didn't change anything actually, so I could just close that. And then we're also going to check for existing blocks. So if I were to go up here to my block panel, I can see there's some existing blocks in here. They're not actually all in here, but a lot of them are. And then I'm going to check the layers. So there's also some layers in here, which makes it nice and easy for us. And just quickly look through these, make sure they match what I have in my assignment, and everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And if I look back at my, all right, let me pull this back up over here. So the text size, it says 4.5 and the dim scale is 48. You might be wondering how did we get those numbers? We talked about scale a little bit previously, but as a reminder, so over here the scale is 1/4 inch to 1 foot. You can zoom in a little bit so we can see that a little bit more easily. So 1/4 inch is equal to 1 foot 0 inches. Okay, and oops, let me zoom back out. And let's see, I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna use this whiteboard. Okay. All right, so we have 1/4 inch is equal to, it's 1 foot, and 1 foot is 12 inches. And I want this side to be 1 inch. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 4. And then I have to do the same thing to the other side. So I have to multiply this whole thing by 4. And so this is going to get me 1 is equal to 48. And so this is my scale factor. 1 is equal to 48. And that is exactly what we have for the dimension scale, for the dim scale. We're going to have that equal to 48. And then for the text size is actually, it is, if you were to measure the size of the text on a piece of paper in paper space, it is 3/32 of an inch. Okay, and so then if we multiply this whole thing by our scale factor of 48, then what do we get? We're going to get, let me pull up my calculator. I don't think I could actually share my screen at the same time as I pull up the calculator, but that's okay. If you have a calculator at home or your phone calculator or whatever, you can put this in if you want. But if I do 3 divided by 32 and then multiply that by 48, I get 4.5. And so that's where the text size comes from. Okay, so I'm going to close this whiteboard and I'm going to continue to share. Okay, so am I sharing the correct screen? Let's try that one more time. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now I'll just go ahead and close this. Okay, so that's where the dim scale and the text size come from. So I'm going to go ahead and type in those commands. I'll put in text size and then enter. And then 4.5 is going to be my text size. And then I'll do dim scale and change that to 48. Okay, and so what we need, so what this template file includes a lot of things, but it doesn't include everything. We still need to create a door block, a window block, a room tag made with attributes, and we need to modify the dimension cell. And we need to do all this before we actually start creating our drawing. Okay, so first let's start with the door block. We're on the 0 layer, and the door has a thickness of 2 inches, and it is 36 inches wide according to our constraints. And so, oops, I'm going to go ahead and start drawing that. Let me turn on ortho mode, and actually while I'm here I'm going to turn on a couple object snaps. And actually I have everything I want to have on, so I'm just going to leave it as that. Here, let me try that again. So I'm going to go to polyline, and this is going to be 36 inches. And then by 2 inches. All right, so here I have my door. I'm going to actually create another line that's 36 inches. So that way it's a little bit easier for me to create the door swing. And I'm going to put this on the construction layer because when I place my door, it'll be easier for me to snap to this midpoint. All right, so I'll just create a circle right here for the door swing, and then I'm going to trim the circle. Okay, so then here is my door block. Pretty straightforward, and then I'll go ahead and just turn this into a block. And I will name it door. And I'm going to pick this corner as my pick point. And I'll say okay. Okay, so that's my door block, and I can move this to the door layer if I want to. Since this was drawn on the 0 layer, it turned this pink. It took the properties of the layer that it's now on. But because this was drawn on the construction layer, this stayed the same color. It kept its original properties. But because it's on the construction layer, that construction layer does not print, and so I don't have to worry about that one. Okay, and so now I need to make a window block, and I'm going to make it to the smaller size, so 16 inches, and it's going to be the same width as the exterior windows. So 16 inches, and sorry, not the exterior windows. Yes, the exterior windows, but the exterior doors. Sorry, walls. Keep getting this mixed up. So 5.5 inches is the size of the exterior walls. And that has another line in the middle, but this one I have to put on the A glaze layer so that way it has the thicker line when I match it to when I put it inside my wall. So, and I'm just going to double check the size of this, make sure I drew to 16 inches. So 1 foot 4 inches, that's correct. So I'll make this into a block. I'll call it window, and I'll just pick this corner to be my pick point. And I'll say okay. Okay, and so now I want to do is I want to edit this block. Well, actually, not edit in place. I'm going to right click and I'll go to block editor, or it could be reached up here, block editor, either one works. I'll say okay. And I'm going to turn this window block into a dynamic block. So a dynamic block is a block that can be more easily changed. So as we know, blocks are not very easily changed, but sometimes you have some blocks that you want to recreate, but you want to also modify them pretty easily. And so to do that, we can create dynamic blocks. And so this is going to teach us how to do dynamic blocks. So I opened up the block editor and I have this palette open called authoring palettes. If you're not seeing that, you could go ahead and click it up here. And I'm going to choose the linear option because I want to stretch this window by 2 inches or in 2 inch increments. So I could adjust the size of the window. So I'm going to say linear, and then I'm going to read what it says in my command line. So specify the start point. So I'm going to go ahead and select over here, and then on this edge, and then that's the label. And so I'm stretching it lengthwise this way. That's why I chose these two corners. And then I'm going to go to actions, and I'm going to go ahead and select stretch because I want to be able to stretch this. All right, and then my command line says select the parameter. This is the parameter. Specify parameter point to associate with the action. And so I want it to be over on like this arrow to stretch it. So I'm going to go ahead and select this bright blue arrow. And then specify first corner of stretch frame. So I can create a stretch frame by, there's a couple ways to do it. So I can either select here and here, and that'll work. And then it says select objects. I could select it all. And then now I created the parameter, but there is another way to do it. So I'm going to show you both. So I'm going to once again do linear, select these two corners, actions, stretch, select this corner, and then specify first corner of stretch frame. So I could have also went like this. As long as I get both of these corners in here, then that works as well. And then the objects I would select is all of this. And then enter. So either way works. Okay, and so now I selected all that, and now one of the yellow exclamation points is gone, which is on the side. This side still has one because this arrow doesn't have any parameter. It's not going to be stretching from this side. All right, and then I want to open up the properties palette so that way I can make sure this stretches by specific increments. So properties, I'll move this out of the way. I could just close this actually. Then I'm going to select my parameter and I'm going to change my properties. So over here where it says distant type, I'm going to change that to increment. And then the increments, I'm going to do it as 2 inches. And then the minimum was 16 inches. All right, and then now this is going to stretch in 2-inch increments. So I'm going to close this and we're going to go ahead and see what it looks like. And I'll save the changes. Okay, so here's my window block. And now I can stretch this out to be whatever size I need it to be. And I can move this over to the window layer. This one was made on the A glaze layer, so that's nice. And I can copy this, move it, and then I can have these windows be different sizes pretty easily. So that's what's nice about dynamic blocks. You're submitting this as a PDF, so even if you don't do the dynamic block, I'm not going to be able to tell. It's just for your own knowledge, and that way you can practice using or creating the dynamic blocks, and it can make certain drawings easier. And so I encourage you to practice it. And you can also, when you're in here, you can also change the size right here. So I can change this to like 3 feet if I wanted to. All right, so I'll go ahead and escape that. Okay, and so now we need to create a room tag with attributes. So to do that, I'm going to insert, there's already a room tag block. This is here just so I can, this actually isn't made with attributes, so I put it in here, and this is just stuck like this. I can't double click in this and change it like we do with the title blocks. And so I'm going to take this and I'm going to explode it, and I'm going to recreate this with attributes. So I exploded this existing room tag, so now it's just simple text and geometry. And I'm going to do ATT for attribute. And here, the first one I want to do is I want to do the room number. So I'll do room num as a tag. I'll change this to room number. And this one, the default, I'm just going to put 3 number signs. The justification, I want that to be middle center. The text style, I'm going to change to standard 1. And the text height, so this is all just matching what I have in my workbook. I'm going to change this to 3-3/8. And I will say okay. Okay, and I want to put this in the middle of this box. So I'm going to turn on geometric center. And, or actually, I'm just going to hover over these 2 midpoints. I'm going to put it right there. And I'm going to delete this old number. Okay, and then I'm going to do ATT again for attributes, for attribute definition, and I'm going to do a new one, and this is for the room name. So I'm going to say room name. Default, I'm just going to say room. I'm also going to put that middle center, standard 1. And this one, the text height I'm going to do is 4.5. So 4.5. I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to select this midpoint at the top of the box. Okay, and then I'm just going to move this to closely match the placement of the existing text. And so that looks pretty good. And I'll delete the old one. Okay, and so now I'm going to take this whole thing, I'm going to turn it into a block. And I'm going to name this room tag. And I'll pick my pick point to be right here. And I'll say OK. And I do want to change the block definition. So I'm going to redefine what the room tag was before when it wasn't made with attributes. So I'll say redefine and OK. Okay, and so now when I insert this, it's going to ask me what I want the room name to be and the room number. I'm just going to cancel this for now. Okay, there we go. And the last thing I want to do is I want to modify the dimension cell to be an architectural cell. So right here I have dimension, styles, and I'm just gonna go ahead and edit this. So I'm gonna select up here where it says standard. I'm gonna say modify. And I'm gonna match the settings that I have set in my workbook. And so I'm gonna go to lines, and I can't yet change this one, and that's because I need to actually change this first. So I'm gonna go to symbols and arrows. I will go to architectural tick. Arrow size is going to change to 3/32. This is the same. And okay, nothing else needs to change here. I'm going to go back to lines. This one I'm going to switch to 1/16. This one 1/16. And everything else looks good here. I'm going to go to text. I'm going to change the text style to stylus BT. Text height, I mentioned this earlier, but it's going to be 3/32 inches. And I'm going to change that to aligned with dimension line. This one will be above, center, left to right. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to go to fit and use overall scale of 48. That was our dim scale. And always keep text between extension lines. And when text is not in default position, we're going to place it over the dimension line without a leader. And then draw a dim line between extension lines. Okay, and then the primary units, we're going to change this to architectural. Fraction format is not stacked. And that looks good, and we don't have to change anything else in these alternate units or tolerances tab. So okay, close. All right, and so now we can start drawing our office building. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the as-built drawing, and I'm going to just kind of start with the outside. I'll go ahead and move to the wall layer. Let's see here. Oh, it doesn't look like I have the wall layer. So I guess I didn't check that as closely as I should have in the beginning. And okay, so I'll go ahead and add that. And your guys's, it'll have the wall there though. But let me go ahead and add that. And I guess if yours does have any mistakes like that, then you can of course just add it this way as well. Okay. Default line weight is 0.028. And then anything else is gonna be white and continuous, so that's good. And remember, if it's not showing up in inches, you can go here to the line weight settings, and then you can just change this to inches. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the A wall layer, and I'm gonna start creating my walls. So I'll go ahead and start off with the outside dimensions. So this is 36 feet. And then it goes to, let's see, 18 feet. And then 6 feet. 6 feet. 22 feet. And we're going to go down 12 feet. Over 8 feet. And then now down to meet that. Okay, so now I have the exterior walls, and I'm going to use offset. And I'm going to offset this 5.5 inches on the inside. Make sure you're not going to the outside, or else it's going to be the incorrect dimensions for the exterior. So on the inside, I'm going to escape that command. And I'm going to go ahead and just draw all my interior walls and such, and then I'll add my doors and my windows after. Well, actually, first I have to add my little posts. So I'll hover over these. This is going to be, so I'm using the rectangle command. I'm going to do dimensions. I'm going to say 5.5, then 5.5. And then it's trying to show me which direction I want to place that. I want to place that like down here, right? Because I want it to be lined up with these walls. So I'm going to click down here, and then these are nicely lined up now. And in my as-built drawing, I have actually another post on this side, but once I modify my building, it's no longer there, so I don't have to add it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my interior walls the according to the drawing that I have for the assignment. So I'm gonna go over, let's see. It's actually gonna be drawn from the exterior one, 8 feet 3 inches. So I could take this, I'm gonna hover over it, start going. Let me escape that. I'll start from here, start going in this direction, 8 feet dash 3 inches. And then that goes up 7 feet dash 9 inches. Okay, and then actually I'm just gonna go ahead and draw this all the way across since I have a couple of different walls that are going in this direction. So I'm gonna put that all the way across, and I'm going to explode this so there's different line segments. And I'll copy this. I'm going to bring it over 12 feet. And then from here, I'll copy this one and bring that over 8 feet. And then I'm going to offset all of these. And I'm going to offset them 3.5 inches since it's the interior walls. Oops. Let me try that again. Offset 3.5. Select object to offset. Okay. I'll go ahead and select these individually, like so. And then this one too. I'm going to go down. Okay. And I can trim these corners and such. Um, Maybe I'll go ahead and do that at the end actually. So I have this wall and now I have to create one over here. And actually I do have a post in this interior wall that I have to add. So I'm going to copy this one. And if I looked at my as-built drawing, I could actually see exactly where that's at. So this is my as-built drawing, and that is 8 feet to the center of this post from the edge of this wall. Oops. Here we go. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it right here. And then now I'm going to move it using the move command, and I'm going to go over 8 feet. And from here, it's going to be lined up with the exterior wall here. So I'm going to hover over here. There we go. Okay, and so that's important because I do have one interior wall that is a little bit larger, and that's because there's a post there, right? So this wall is 5.5 inches, while the other ones are 3.5. Okay, and so let's see here. I'm gonna draw this one like so. I'll actually explode that because I did it with polyline. And let's see here. How do I want to do this? I'll go ahead and draw this interior line. So from here, I hovered over this corner. I'm tracking this direction, and I'm going to do 12 feet dash 6 inches. Okay. And I'll just do the offset command. So I'll do offset 3.5 inches. This one to be 3.5 inches that way. This one on that side. And this one, I'm going to do up here, but I'm going to trim this one. And I'll create a new one that's thicker. I'll extend this to the end. Okay. So far it looks pretty good. And I could put in my doors now, or I can do some trimming. I think I'll go ahead and start with some of these doors. So I'm going to move that over to this corner. And then I want this to be 4 inches from the wall. So I'm going to move it 4 inches. And then I'll just copy this. I'm going to move it here and then I'm going to mirror it. And then, yes, I want to delete the other one. And I'll copy this one over. And I just mirrored that. I'll move this one to that corner and then move it over again 4 inches. Let's see, and then I'll mirror this. No, I don't want to delete the other one, and then I'm going to move this one to the corner too. And once again, I'll just click it and then I'll go over 4 inches. Let's see. So I'll move this one. So the center is on that exterior wall line. And then I'm going to move this over 3 feet 6 inches. So you just click on this and then 3-6 inches. Did that work? Let's try that again. I'll do move. 3-6 inches. Three feet dash 6 inches. Okay, that took a little while. All right, and so now I have my doors here, and I can add my windows. Okay, and so I have a couple of these windows here, and so let me go over to my assignment. I'm going to show you guys how to read these doors and window sizes really quick. So there's some notes on the assignment for the actual size of the doors and the windows. And so, for example, the door, if it says 3068, that means that this is 3 feet by 0 inches wide and 6 feet 8 inches tall. For the windows, it's the same thing. So for the first two numbers, that's going to be the width, and then the second two numbers, that's going to be the height. So this is 2 feet 0 inches wide, 3 feet 6 inches tall, right? So on and so forth. So if I look back up here at my drawing, I can know the size of these windows based off of those numbers. So for example, this one is going to be 6 feet wide. This one is 3 feet wide. This is 2 feet wide. This is 4 feet 6 inches wide. And so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and create all the different sizes for my windows. This one I'll say is 6 feet. Let's see, I have two of them that are 6 feet, so I'm just going to copy that. And actually, let me see how many windows I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 windows. I'm going to just create 7 copies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to create all the different sizes here. So I have two 6 feet windows. I have one that's 4 feet 6 inches. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say 4 feet dash 6 inches. This one is, I'm going to say 4 feet. And I have two that are 3 feet. And then I have one that is 2 feet. Okay, and so now I'll go ahead and just place all these. And so these are measured from the midpoint to the exterior wall. So I'm going to move this, and I'm going to select this midpoint and put it right here. And so now I need to move this one over 8 feet 6 inches. No, and that doesn't look quite right. Oh no, actually it does. Yeah, because it's not going to be in the middle. Okay. And then, while I'm doing the dimensioning, that'll kind of tell me if I did anything wrong. Let's see here. This one is a 3-foot one. So I'll move this. I'll place it right here. And I'll move that over 5 feet. And then, let's see, I have my 4-foot 6-inch one. I'm gonna move that up again. This is gonna go over 5 feet. Or feet 6 inches. I'm just placing all these windows in their appropriate spots. This is 3 feet, 9 inches. And at this small one, it is 4 feet from this exterior wall. And let me go ahead and rotate this. Five feet 3 inches. Okay, so now I have my doors, my windows, my walls. I just need to add a couple of walls, thresholds, and I need to trim everything. So right here, I'm going to add a threshold. So I'm going to start here. I'm just going to go ahead and click here, and then I'm going to do 1 inch. I'll hover over this endpoint here, and then I'll go down. And I'm going to create a threshold over on this side. Actually, I could even just copy this. There we go. And then I want to add, so I need my wall to close and then I need to trim there. So I need to add the ends of these walls. And I'm still on the A wall layer. I'll just do the windows first. So I could just do spacebar to repeat the last command, exit, spacebar, exit, spacebar, just to make things a little bit faster. Okay. And then I want to close the walls around the doors as well. Exit spacebar. Oh, and I forgot my door over here. I'll just mirror this whole thing. And no, I don't want to erase the source object. Oops. Say no. And I'll move this to the corner. And I'll do M, then P for previous, then enter. And then I'm going to move that over 4 inches. Okay, I think I accidentally moved that earlier instead of copied it. All right, so line. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim all of these lines. And so actually I also have an extra little line here. I need to make sure I get that one. So that way the line weight isn't incorrect at the end of my drawing. Make sure I get that one. So I'm just going to do a lot of trimming to get rid of these lines, make sure the walls are closed, and then I'm also going to trim these extra lines within there. All right, I already did that one. Okay, and then now for these inside the walls. Don't forget this little piece. And so I don't want to delete this because that's a post. I'm just going to go around it. Okay, so it looks pretty good actually. And I can highlight all this and join it. if I want to. And I'm just going to I'm gonna go to my layout now, select my viewport, and I'm gonna put it on the appropriate size scale factor. So that was 1/4 inch is equal to 1 foot. And oops, I'm gonna look for, actually, I'll go ahead and zoom out first and then I'll find it and then put it on the appropriate scale. Okay, so I'm gonna just preview this really quick to make sure my walls look nice. Okay, so my walls have a thicker line weight, and so does my glass for my window. But the frames and the doors, they are a little bit thinner, and that's exactly how I want it. I have my threshold that goes around and my post. So that actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to close that. I'll go back to the model, and I'm going to go ahead and add in my blocks. So, and I could delete this block here. So I have a conference room table in this room. I have a desk in here. I have another desk over here somewhere. Those desks have some chairs. And I'll go ahead and move these all to their correct spots in a moment. I'm just going to insert them for now. I have another chair here. Another chair here. And I have if I scroll down, my toilet. And oops. This one has a pick point right here in this corner, so I'm going to move that over to this corner. Okay, and actually, I just realized that I put all these on the wrong layer, so I'm going to move them to the correct layer. So these should be on the furniture layer, and then the toilet should be on the plumbing layer. Okay, so now let me rotate some things around so that way it matches what I have in my drawing or in my assignment. So I'll move this here, and then I have to rotate this chair as well. There we go. And so this dotted line is because it's underneath the desk. So make sure that is lined up correctly. And I'll rotate that, and then I'm going to move that over to, I could turn off this ortho mode. Move it to right about there. And this one, I need that skinnier side to be along the wall. So like this. I'll move it into the corner. And this chair is already the right orientation. Just move it like so. You know what? Actually, I'm just going to delete this one, and then I'm going to copy this. Oh, I had that wrong. Sorry. So this has to be facing towards the desk. And then I'm going to move it over. I'll turn off ortho mode. I don't want it to snap there. Right around there is fine. Okay, and then I want to add my notes and my room tags. So I'll start with the room tags. So this is the attributed room tag that we made. And let me actually escape that. I'm going to go on the text layer so that way I don't have to change all of them individually. So room tag, I'm going to put that in the middle of this table. This is conference. I want it to be capital, so conference. The room number is 102. And put that right about there. Reception. One zero one. And I would like all these to be lined up nicely, so I'm just going to copy this to the plate so it's aligned with the words over there. So turn ortho mode on. Okay, and then this one, I'll double click it and I'm going to change this to office and 104. Copy. This is 106. Oops, I'm realizing there's a typo, so I'm going to change this one to 105. 106, and then this will be toilet 107. And then I'll copy this one and I'll place it right about there. And this one's 104. And I'll put this room tag. So it's not going to be aligned with that one, but I don't want it to run into the desk. So that's okay. 103. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And my windows and my doors also have notes for the sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and create those notes. And the text style is going to be standard 1. I'll do multi-line text. And this one is going to be 3060 for the window. And so I'll rotate that. I'm going to move that over here. Let's see, I'm going to move it over. I'm going to put a specific, like 6 inches. So that way I can be consistent with the other ones. So, and then I'll move that in like 4 inches. Actually, maybe 2 more. Okay. And this is 4620. Let's move that down 2 inches. It's a little bit off. And I'll move it over 6 inches. And I'm just going to copy this and change the numbers. So 60, 60, 40, 40. And 20, 36. That one's 60, 60. I'll move it up 6 inches like I did with the other one and over 6 inches. Okay, and then I'll copy this. And this is 30, 60. And then all my doors are the same size, so I'm going to, I'll just copy this one since it's already sideways. And let's see, I'll put over here first. Did I grab from right there? So 30, 68. I'm gonna mirror this. Oops. Select that side. I'll delete the extra. Let's see. And I just want to easily match the other side. So I'm going to create a quick construction line here. I'm going to mirror this about it, about the midpoint of that. No, I don't want to delete it, so see, to copy that. And I'll mirror this one. Okay, so I have all my windows and my doors labeled. Okay, and so now I just need to dimension. And so when it comes to the architectural dimensioning, I want to start off with the exterior or like the overall building dimensions and then the exterior shape and then the interior walls, and then dimension to the doors and the windows. But I'm not going to actually dimension the doors and the windows because I have the notes that specify the size of them. All right. Let me escape that. I'm going to go to the dimension layer, and I'm going to start off with the overall building size. Oh, you know what? I just realized I forgot. I forgot the porch and the deck. So, you know what? Actually, I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. So I'll dimension it and then I'll add that porch and the deck because the dimensions are not to the porch and the deck anyways. Okay, so that's the overall on one side, and then I'm going to do the overall for this side. Remember, I'm snapping to the endpoints. And then now I'm going to do the exterior shape. So from here to here. And then I can do continue and select this one. And then I can just very easily go to this side over here. All right. And so let's do the exterior shape of this side. And then once again, I'll do continue. I'll select here. And it could be easier just to turn off some of these object snaps. There we go. That's fine. And then I'll do the exterior of this side. Oops. All here, but then I gotta fix the end point of this. There we go. And okay, so that's the exterior shape. I don't have any difference between the overall and the exterior over here, so I don't have to do any over there. And then now I'm gonna do to the interior walls. So I will start here, dimension to right there. And then I want to go from like one face to the same side of that same face of the wall or the stud. So I'll do continue, click this, and then because I selected on the left side, I'm going to select on the left side. Oops, this one I messed it up. And then because this is the last one, I'm going to go to the end of the wall. Okay, so far that's matching up pretty well. Let's see the interior walls right here. And for this side as well. Okay, and so now I'm gonna go ahead and do to the doors and the windows. So I don't actually need to do it for any of these doors because they're all 4 inches from the wall. This is the only one I need to do it for. So I'm gonna go from here to the center, and this is, oh, I turned off midpoint, so let me turn that back on. And I think I need to stretch some of these dimensions up. So I'm going to move this one down a little bit, and then I'm going to stretch all of them so that way I can better fit the rest of these dimensions. So I'm going to grab all these except that bottom one. I don't stretch that one. Or actually I do. So let me grab that one too. I'll do S for stretch. And about there is fine. Okay. Oops. Just want to space these out a little bit nicer. There we go. I think that looks fine. Looks good. And then I have another window over here. And these ones I could probably bring in. And then to the center of these windows. I want it to be lined up with this one, so I guess I'll just place it and then I'll fix it after. Huh. So I'm just selecting this and then I'm going to click on that one. And this one actually I need to measure from the midpoint to this exterior wall. There we go. And I'm going to move this text over because it's going right through the line. That's fine. And then see here. Okay, and then mention I need to add the porch and the deck. So let me go to a deck layer and I'm going to create my porch and deck. So I'm going to start going out from here because it's said it's 3 inches beyond the edges. So I'm going to do 3 this way and you just end it here and then do 3. and then 3. Okay. And I will do the same thing for this side. So here, right over this spot, tracking this way, 3 inches. Oh, just kidding, that did not work out. Try that again. 3 inches, 3 inches. I go here and then 3 inches. Here and then 3 inches. Okay, and then I have some text that says porch and deck. Oh, and then I'm missing a dimension for my hall. Okay, so I'm just gonna double check everything. These are a little spread out, so I'm gonna stretch this to make it look a little nicer. And maybe I'll bring this up a little bit. Or out, I mean. Maybe that's too much. Okay, it looks like I have everything. Oh, I'm gonna add a 60 diameter circle. So I'll just draw it out here for now. Oh, that's radius. 60. I'll go ahead and put that on the text layer. And now I'm gonna move this in here. And I'm gonna make sure it's like towards the edge of the toilet and the sink. There we go, just to show that this is not encroaching greater than 12 inches. And if you want to double check too, you can just kind of, let's see here. Oh, that's not the one I want. I'm gonna do linear. And I make a hard time with this. Undo aligned. There we go. So that is about like 9-ish inches, so not more than 12. Okay. So I'm gonna go over here and put this into my viewport, centered. And I locked it, and now I'll go ahead and fill out my title block information. So I'm double clicking on my title block. And my drawing title is, turn off my caps lock floor and space plan. Enter your name, the date, the file name, that's going to be the assignment number, so 6.1 in this case. The scale, we said it's 1/4 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. And then there's only going to be one sheet, so it's 1 of 1. All right, so I'm going to take a look at what this looks like. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Gonna go ahead and close this. And okay, so let me go ahead and plot this then. I'm going to type in plot. Let's say okay. I'm going to select my file location. And you're going to save it using the convention you did before with your initials and the assignment number. All right, and so let me go ahead and take a second look at this. So my line weights look good. And looks like I have all the notes. I have the room numbers, appropriate blocks, and I'm just double checking dimensions. Oh, actually, see, here's a mistake here. I have to dimension this window to this edge, so I'll go ahead and fix that. And that is the only one I'm seeing right now. So let me go ahead and close this. Go back to model space. There we go. And then, oh, I haven't been saving it. Make sure you're saving it throughout, of course, because you don't want to lose any work unnecessarily. So, yes, I'm going to save changes. And oh, look at that. It just closed. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let me open it back up. So I didn't close it, it just crashed as soon as it saved. So let's reopen it. And that is why we save often. So it's just loading right now. It's on my other screen. Okay, so looks like how it did before. I think we're good. Let's go ahead and try plotting this again. And I'm just going to override the other one that I just created. So we'll go here. I'm going to override that one. Or overwrite it, I should say. And let's see how it looks. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, and so this is how to create the office building for assignment 6.1. And in this assignment, we learned how to create a dynamic block, which is something we hadn't done previously. We made some blocks with attributes, and we created our dimension cell into the architectural style. All right. Thank you guys.